Okay, welcome to this was our second week this week, yes, of the our competitive bidding, the second part of our beginning bridge series. And this week we covered scoring because it's important to know scoring, or at least have a general idea of it for us to go forward with some of the rest of the things we're going to be doing. And we also discussed preemptive bidding. So that's what we're going to cover in today's review session. And then tomorrow in class, we'll cover overcalls. Then the next week, we'll cover takeout doubles. And then our last week, there's a short subject, and then we'll play mostly the last week that we have. Mark was talking a little bit about playing on bridge base. And I've talked to all of you guys about the fact that you really need to be playing bridge somehow. that you just can't learn to play bridge from classes. You need the classes, or you need reading, or you need something to pick up the basics of it. But there's so much that you really need to play to kind of find the things that are important and put into play some of the concepts we've learned. So it's really important. And if you're not playing with people, which is the most fun, then playing online is fun also, and it's really good practice. And he was mentioning that it's frustrating to play on there because sometimes the robot will do something that you think is just crazy, that they aren't responding to you, and that is an issue with those robots. Sometimes they do crazy stuff, but there are a couple of things. Number one, they're not playing exactly the way you're being taught to play. They're very close to it. Most of it is going to be right, but they're playing a system called 2/1, which is basic bridge, just like you're learning, but there's a tweak to it, where when we bid like one heart, two clubs, that just means we have at least 10 points. When the robots do it, they will have at least 13 points. It's a game going bid. And because you have to have 13 points to bid at the two level, the one no trump bid is expanded from 6 to 12 points. Now, you don't need to know all of that. It is a system you'll probably move to eventually, but you don't need to know it now, except for the fact that that's what the robots play. So that's automatically going to be different. They also sometimes do things I don't understand. They are robots, so they sometimes don't respond to you like a real person would respond to you. So that's a second issue. The third thing is you can always click on what they're doing on the bid. If you just put your mouse on it and click on a bid that's been made, a little box will pop up that tells you what that bid means. That might or might not be helpful. Anyway, however frustrating it is, and I get that it is, because I play a lot of bridge online, it's really a good thing to do as much as you can to learn how to play. Okay, so today, Mark, did you have anything else? Okay, you
Nope.
just popped up, so I was gonna see. All right, so today, then let's focus on first on the rules of scoring. And let me stop this because that's not where I want to be. Sorry, Zoom has updated itself so that it's just wonderful, and I can't find the things that used to work the way they used to work. Do I sound like a crotchety old person now? Okay, so here is duplicate bridge scoring. You don't have to know everything about duplicate bridge scoring, um, but it's a good idea to have at least a general sense of it, because a lot of the things that we're going to be talking about for the next three classes today and the other two classes, have to do with the impact on the score. That's why we do some of the things that we do. So it's good to have just a general idea of what's going on with the scoring. You don't need to know how to keep the scoring though, because if you are playing bridge at the Bridge Center, you've seen the little computer looking things that are on each table. Those are little handhelds that keep the score for you. You just, when you get through with the hand, you put in it was one, no trump by East, down one, and the machine will tell you what the score on is for that, and it will record it. And at the end of the time, everybody's scores are entered in, and you see who had the best score, who had the worst score, whatever. It's all in that little computer. That's how also you can find the results based on what went into the handheld are on the hand records that are on the website, because every game that's played at the Bridge Center is recorded like that through those computers, and you can see the results on the website. So that machine will do it for you first. The second thing is on the bidding boxes that you use. On the back of every card, if you bid one no trump, you can see the score by pulling out the one no trump card and looking at the back of it. And it will tell you if you made one, what the score is. If you made two, what the score is. If you made three, etc. It'll tell you what the score was for that. So you can just look at that and see also what the score is. So you never have to actually figure it out yourself. But it is good if you know what's going on. So let's talk about that. The first thing is that there are two parts to every bridge score. Oh, and let me also mention before I get too much further along, if you want to look in your course books, depending on which version you have, it's on page 3 in the older version of the book, page 3, and it's on page 39, I believe. Let's see here. No, page 19 in the newer updated edition of the book. So you can always take a look back there. But so there's two parts to every score. There is a trick score. You get a certain amount for each trick that you get. And then there is a bonus score. And a bonus score depends on whether or not you bid a game, because you get bonuses, large bonuses for bidding a game. You get a smaller bonus if you did not bid a game. So those two parts are what we need to think about. So the first part, let's look at this, the trick score part of it. If you are bidding clubs or diamonds and they're not doubled, doubled is where the other side says, I don't think you can make this. You know, you've bid too high. I don't think you can make it. And you're going to get penalized if you don't make it. Well, just as you get penalized if you don't make it, you get extra points if you do make it. So that's what, and we haven't played doubled contracts, and you probably won't play them very much for a while. So usually your bids are going to be non-doubled. So the usual bid is 20 for clubs or diamonds, 30 for hearts or spades, and for no trump, it's 40 for the first trick and 30 for every trick after that. And in the old method of bidding, the way you got a game, your game bonus, or you earned a game, is if you had 100 points in your trick score. Well, to get 100 points in clubs or diamonds, you have to get 20 times 5 is 100. So you'd have to get 5, make 5 to get a game in clubs or diamonds. Hearts or spades, they're 30 each. So 30 times 4 is 120. You have to get 4. You're over, but 3 is not enough. 3 times 30 is only 90. So that's why the game at hearts or spades is 4. And at no trump, the first one is 40. Then the next ones are 30. So 40, 30, and 30 is 100. And that's where you get the game bonus for with your trick score. You get to count the tricks no matter how many tricks you get. If you get, 6 hearts or spades, the trick score is going to be 30 times 6, 180. But you just need to count whatever the trick score is. As long as you make at least equal to what you bid, then you get 20, 30, or 40, and then 30 for your trick scores. If it's doubled or redoubled, it just means the trick score is doubled. Instead of 20, you get 40. Instead of 30, you get 60. And redoubled, which I don't think I've seen a doubled and redoubled contract more than 2 or 3 times in my life, you get 80 or 120. So that really doesn't come up very much. If you do more than what you bid, if you bid 2 diamonds and you make 3 diamonds, you still, if you're not doubled, you still just get the regular trick value that we talked about up here, just the regular value. But if you are doubled or redoubled, you get a lot more of the trick value. Notice that if you are doubled at like 5 diamonds, you were doubled, and you make 6 diamonds, you're going to get 5 times 20 is 100 for the first 5, but for the over trick, if you were doubled, you're going to get 100 points, not just 20 points. And I'm sorry, if you're doubled, you get double the trick score up to what you bid. So that would be 200 for if you were doubled and bid 5 clubs or diamonds. 5 times 20, which is doubled to 40, 5 times 40 is 200. Plus for that next trick you got, it's worth 100. Again, you don't have to know this, but this is part of how the bidding works. The important part you need to remember that's mostly going to come up is that when you get to count whatever you made on your tricks. If you're not doubled, it is just the regular trick score, no matter how much. Okay, so that is the trick score part of this. The next part of it is the bonus points. If you make a doubled or redoubled contract, if somebody doubled you and you bid 3 diamonds and they doubled you and said, I don't think you can do this, and you actually make it, you get the trick score plus you get either 50 or 100, depending on if you're vulnerable or unvulnerable, for the insult. It's called for the insult because they said you couldn't make a contract and you made it. So you just get extra because they said you couldn't make it. But forgetting the doubled and redoubled part for a while, the regular bonuses are for a part score. And a part score is just a bid that is not a game bid. So 2 no trump is you would get a part score. 3 no trump, you would get the game bonus. So if you bid to game, you get a game bonus. If you bid below game, you get part score, 50. And that's whether you're vulnerable or not vulnerable. For the game bonus, you're going to get 300 or 500, depending if you're vulnerable or not vulnerable. Now, this vulnerable, not vulnerable thing, if you're keeping score yourself, you become vulnerable when you have earned a game. That is, you've gotten 100 points worth of trick scores, either on one hand, or you can add 2 or 3 hands together if it takes you that long to get 100. So once you've gotten a game score, though, you become vulnerable. And now your games are worth a lot more, but you also lose a lot more if you don't make it. But the first ones you bid are you are not vulnerable. The first few game bids you make are not going to be vulnerable. And so you'll just get 300 for that. If you're playing at the Bridge Center, or if you're playing online, you were told whether or not you're vulnerable or not vulnerable. And it's just assigned on the boards. Let me show you. the boards themselves just show whether you're vulnerable or not. This one, there's no colors on it, so no one is vulnerable. This one, the red is vulnerable, the black is not vulnerable. So north, south, vulnerable, east, west are not vulnerable. Just the opposite here, east, west are red, they're vulnerable. North, south are not vulnerable. And then this last one, everybody is red. So north, south, east, west are all vulnerable. So usually when you play now, either online or at the Bridge Center, they just assign the vulnerability to you. And the vulnerability just goes around, each board is different. Susan, you had a question?
Yes, so if you bid and make a game, you get up above, depending on whether you bid clubs, diamonds, hearts, or spades, or no trump. Are you saying, in addition, if you make your game, you get an additional 300 not vulnerable, 500 vulnerable?
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
And that's
Thank you.
why I've emphasized a lot when you guys first start playing. In our first classes, when we had the bidding ladder up, I pointed out the places where if you bid two, you get the game bonus. The 5 diamonds or 5 clubs, 4 hearts or 4 spades, or 3 no trump. Those are the game bonus levels. And it's important in bridge, we're trying to get to one of those levels every time. We would like to bid a game if we can. If we can't bid a game, we'd like to stop as low as we can. And that has to do with the scoring, because look, whatever you bid below game, you're going to get 50 points for it. So you'll get 50 points for every trick score you get. You will get your trick score plus 50 points for everything you bid if it's below a game level. But if you bid the game level, you get your trick score plus 300 or plus 500, depending on whether or not you're vulnerable. That is a considerable difference than just getting 50. So the bonus scores are really important. That's why we really press to get them. However, because of the way the bidding works, if you don't bid a game, then you are going to get the same score if you bid 1 and make 3 as if you bid 3 and make 3. Well, I'd rather give myself some leeway and just bid 1 if I'm going to get the same thing if I bid 3. So that's part of what we're going to be talking about in the next couple of weeks, is that because of this, we are always trying to make the opponent's bid as high as they can, and we are trying to bid as high as we can. And if we can't get to the game, we're trying to stop as low as we can, and the opponents are trying to push us up. This is as much a part of bridge as the idea that you guys have already learned of finding out what you and your partner can do and bidding there, the how high and where question. Well, the how high and where questions get a little bit more complicated if we also need to take into account the fact that maybe it's better for us to go down 1 than to let the opponents make 110 or whatever. So all of this becomes part of why we're doing some of the things that we're doing, that we're going to be learning in the next 3 classes. Then the other thing that I want to point out to you is the penalty points. If you don't make what you say you're going to make, if you have not been doubled and you're not vulnerable, then you lose 50 points for every trick that you go down. If you bid 3 diamonds and you only make 1, you go down 2, you would lose 100 points. If you're vulnerable, you're going to lose double that, or 200 points, 100 points each. So, and if you're doubled, it just goes up a lot. So, but we're not going to worry about this right now. So what we need to know now, kind of to wrap this up, is you're going to get a trick score and a bonus score every time that you bid and you make your bid. We want to bid to the game level if we can, because the difference is at least 250 or 450, depending on if we're vulnerable or not vulnerable. So it's a big difference in the amount of points that you get. We also need to think about how many points we're going to lose if we don't make the contract. So if we bid 3 diamonds and go down 1, we only get, make 2 instead of 3. We're going to lose 50 points if we're not vulnerable. But if the opponents can bid 2 hearts and make 2 hearts, they would make 2 times 30 is 60, plus 50 is 110. So they would make 110 points if they just bid 2 hearts and make it. Well, if we overbid them and bid 3 diamonds and go down 1, we lose 50 points, but we lose 120 points the other way. So we are always trying to figure out what is the best thing to do. If we want to overbid some and only go down 1, that's to our advantage sometimes. It's not to our advantage, though. If they bid 2 hearts and they couldn't make 2 hearts, they were going to go down anyway. They were going to give us points. Us going down is not good in that case. So, or we think we can only go down 1, but maybe we go down 2 or even 3. Then it's not good. So there's a lot of, ifs, ands, and buts with what we're doing. We have to guess right for all this to work. But that's the basis of this, is why we're doing a lot of the stuff that we do when we are bidding, especially when we're doing the overcalls and the takeout doubles, that you'll learn how to do, that everybody does. This is just part of basic bridge. And also in doing the preemptive bids, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. Let's just look at an example or two to kind of see if we can figure this out. Okay, let's look at this one. We've got 3 no trump in the east, down 1. That's what this notation means. When you are keeping score, which when you're playing a game at the Bridge Center, you should write down your score on the little sheet that you have. There is no prescribed way to do this. We don't care how you do it, as long as when the director comes back to you and says, what was the result on board 4, you can say, we went down 50. And actually, for beginners, if you can't even do that, we don't care. But that's the reason that we need to have everybody do this. So anyway, the notation would be 3 no, Trump was the bid, East was the one that bid it, and they went down 1. So what would the results of that be? How many points would that be? Do you know? Going down. They went down.
What's the vulnerability status here?
Okay, it does make a difference, doesn't it? If they were non-vulnerable, what would it be?
50, wait. I think 50.
50.
I think.
Non-vulnerable down 1 is 50. Vulnerable down 1 is what?
100.
100. And also notice in the downs, it's not like the trick scores where depending on what you bid was a different amount. Here, no matter if you bid no trump, clubs, diamonds, hearts, or spades, down 1 is the same thing. So 50 or 100. Let's look at another one. Let's say 4 hearts by north, making 4. What would that be?
120.
120. 120, you've got 4 times 30 for the trick score. So you start with 120, but is there anything else we need to do? Remember, we've got 2 parts, trick score and bonus score. So what would the
And
bonus score here be?
300 for bidding and making a non-vulnerable game contract.
Right. So if this is non-vulnerable, it is 120 plus 300, a total of 420. If they were vulnerable, it would be 120 plus 500 for a total of 620.
Is the N non-vulnerable?
No, the N here is who made the bid, North.
Oh, okay.
And if you were actually writing this down, the board that you're writing it down for would tell you if it's vulnerable or non-vulnerable. So, okay, let's do
So on
this. Yes.
on the scorekeeping, so are you saying you keep it automatically on the little machine, but secondarily it's encouraged everybody to keep track manually as well. Is that
That's
right?
right. That's right. Because sometimes it doesn't get put into the machine. People forget and move on. And so you have to come back and reconstruct it, or sometimes people put it in wrong. And the the director's computer will give them a notification if a score has gone in that doesn't look like it's possible, and then they'll come back and check. So there's things that can happen. That's why we need to be able to verify the scores that are put in.
And did you say that the Bridge Center provides a form for that, or do we bring a little pad for
No,
that?
we provide them. There's
Okay.
ways to keep score there. We provide that.
Okay.
Okay, let's look at another one. We've got 3 diamonds in the west, making 4.
$80 in total, right?
What, Mark?
$80 in total.
80 for the trick score, 20 times 4. But what's the bonus score?
No bonus.
No bonus? There's always 2 parts, trick score
I'm giving him
bonus.
I'm giving him 50 more points for the
50.
bonus.
Yeah, it's 50, Mark. You always get at least
Oh.
50 if you make your contract. So this is going to be 80 plus 50 is 130. That would be the total score on this one. Does that make sense? And notice the same thing is if this had been 4 diamonds, 4 diamonds making 4, it's the same score. 4 times 20 is 80, plus 50 is 130. Same score. That's why we like bidding 3 if we can, and making 4. Because it's easier. We have more leeway. If we don't get what we should get, we're still not going to go down. Okay, that gives you a general idea about how this is working. Like I said, I don't care if you can do this, but I do want you to understand the differences between being at a game versus being at a part score. The part score is just 50 for everything. The game bonus, though, occurs if you are at the certain levels: 3 no trump, 4 hearts, 4 spades, 4 clubs, 4 diamonds. So that's why you're trying to get there. And when you do not make your contract, you lose either 50 points if you're not vulnerable or 100 points if you're vulnerable. Those are the important things to remember about the scoring here. Okay. I know you've got questions on that, but unless you want to, we can just skip over that.
I have a question about duplicate bridge.
Okay.
So after the bidding is complete and the contract is determined, there's some time where you can ask your partner questions.
Mhm.
And I haven't found anybody that knows what the questions are at duplicate bridge. What is it you talk about then?
Well, it's not really like a discussion. What it is if the opponents have made a bid that you don't understand, usually because it's some kind of conventional or special bid, they are required to alert you that they made a special bid that didn't mean what it seemed to mean. An example would be you bid one no trump and they bid two hearts, which doesn't mean hearts, right? It's a transfer to spades, right? So there's a lot of bids like that. And if the opponents make one of those, they're required to say alert about their partner's bid. And then the next person to bid can say, what did that bid mean? But you don't have to. A lot of times they wait until the end of the bidding and then ask the questions because they don't want to influence the other person's knowledge of what their partner bid. So the bottom line is what the question is when you can ask a question, you can ask the opponents, what did your bid mean? The opponent's partner, you can ask them to explain what their bid meant. You can never ask your partner what their bid meant. You have to just sink or swim with whatever your partner was doing.
Okay, got it. Thank you. That's great.
And there's one other thing. It kind of gives you a chance to avoid leading out of turn because once you you're supposed to put your card face down and say any questions, partner, and your partner would say, yeah, it's not your turn to lead. One of the things that happens. So, but that's the questions. It's just you can ask to have an explanation of a bid.
Sally,
Yeah.
what would happen in a game if, for example, you trump something when you weren't able to?
Right.
You just misplay your hand.
Yes.
What happens in that situation?
It depends, but if it is a case where you don't follow suit correctly, you revoke or renege is what it's called. You
Mhm.
trump something when you actually had that card in your hand, then what happens is you just go on and finish play the rest of the hand. Then you have to call the director over to the table. And if everybody agrees that there was a revoke on a certain card, a certain trick, it depends on whether or not you took the trick that you made the mistake on, or whether you took any others. And there's an adjustment made. Usually you get a two trick penalty is usually what happens when you do that. But it's resolved by the director later.
I could see other ways that something like that would happen. Like, say I'm on the declare and I'm playing along, and my partner zips out an ace of a suit, and it's not his lead.
Yeah, right. And that happens a
It's the
lot.
same situation.
No, it's a little bit different. If there's a lead out of turn, it's the same situation in that the director comes and tells you what to do. You don't have to know. But if you lead out of turn, there are rules for what happens. If you bid out of turn, that's another thing that can happen. And that has kind of more impact because if you put a bid down that it wasn't your turn, your partner now has information about what you thought you were going to do.
Yeah.
And that may change when it gets back around to your turn. So they may have extra information. So that has an impact. So all of these kind of mechanical problems which come up. And so, and especially as a beginner, when they come up, you go, oh my God, I've done this wrong. So terrible. I'm so embarrassed. Everybody does it at all levels. They probably don't do it as much, but everybody does it sometimes. So it's just you call the director, they come over and tell you what the correction is for it. There's another common one is to bid and make an insufficient bid. Somebody bids a spade and you try to bid a heart. Well, you have to bid two hearts. So there's some rules there too. So just basically, whenever something happens that seems unusual, we call the director if you're playing at the Bridge Center and just say, could you come explain to me what we're supposed to do? That's why we pay the directors the big bucks. They come over and explain. Okay, let's talk about preemptive bidding. Preemptive bidding is kind of what it sounds like. Preemptive means like a preemptive strike would mean you want to get in before the other person does something. You want to grab the advantage. That's what preemptive means generally in life. You want to start out, and you want to start out at a level that they can't easily overcome you. So preemptive bidding is exactly the same thing. As we have been talking about so far in this class, we have talked about opening at the one level, one club, one diamond, one heart, one spade, or one no trump. Those are the opening hands. And all of those we open at the one level. You know, we're bidding one of those things at the one level. If we have 13 or a good 12 or more points, we bid at the one level. But these bids are above the one level. These preemptive bids are, you're just going to start out with 2 hearts or 3 clubs or maybe even 4 diamonds. So that's unusual, but you are just going to jump up in the bidding and make a, out of the blue, really high bid. This comes up a lot though, and we need to remember these and think about why we do it. And the reason we make these kind of what seems like a wild bid, just bidding 3 spades, is the first thing is it describes your hand to your partner, because there are very specific rules we need to follow to bid 3 spades. It has a specific meaning. So the first thing is it describes your hand to your partner. The second thing it does is it takes up room, so it makes it hard for the opponents to bid what they want to bid. Now they have to start above the 3 spade level to say anything. And it's hard to figure out your how high answer if somebody has already taken up all the bidding room. So that's why we do it. It seems kind of crazy to do. And we're not really saying we think we can make this. We're just saying that we have all of these cards and we don't have an opening hand. And so I'm describing my hand, making it hard for the opponents. We really kind of expect the opponents should have the bid rather than us, and we've made it hard for them. So what is this description of this hand? What should we have? Well, the first thing is have to have less than an opening hand. If you have an opening hand, like we've been describing all along, you open the way you always would, even if you have 6 or 7 cards in the suit, which is what a preemptive bid is. So in general, you're going to be somewhere between 5 and 8 high card points plus your length. If you have much more than, say, 8 high card points and a long suit, the extra cards in your long suit are going to start getting you up towards opening hand level. So that's usually the range 5 to 8, maybe 9. The important thing is it is not an opening hand. If you count up your high card points and your length and it gets to 13, you do not open the preemptive bid. You open the regular 1 level opening bid. You also have to have a solid suit, a very good suit. 2 of the top 3 honors or 3 of the top 5 honors. Now, honors are the top 5 cards in a suit. So ace, king, queen, jack, 10. The face cards plus 10, the top 5. So if you have 2 of the top 3, so out of the ace, king, queen, you have 2 of those. The ace king, the king queen, the ace queen, you've got 2 of the top 3, or you might have 3 of the top 5. So you might have just the queen, jack, 10. That would be good enough. Or you could have the king, queen, jack. That would be 3 of the top 5. Well, it'd also be 2 of the top 3, right? Because I said king, queen, didn't I? Or you could have king, jack, 10. That way you have 3 of the top 5 and only 1 of the top 3. Do you see what I'm saying? You need to have one or the other. Either one is fine. 2 of the top 3 or 3 of the top 5. It needs to be a good suit. You don't want to do a preemptive bid just jumping up to the 2 or the 3 level unless you have a good suit. Because part of the strength of this bid is that you are describing your suit to your partner and that it is a good suit. You also want to have most high card points in the long suit. You don't want to have a lot of points outside. The thought behind this is that a preemptive bid says, partner, I'm good in this suit and this suit only. So you shouldn't have a lot of outside things. They should mainly be in the suit that you're preempting in. And also, if you think about it, if you have a lot of points outside the suit and you have a good suit, 2 of the top 3 or 3 of the top 5, you're probably going to be to an opening hand level, right? Just unlikely you would have that much. And the last thing is we prefer not to have an outside 4-card major. The reason for that is we would still rather find a 4-card major if we can. So particularly if you're bidding clubs or diamonds, we don't want to do that as preemptive bid if we've got 4 hearts or 4 spades. Then we just kind of pass and wait for partner to bid something. So that's a description of the hand. Less than an opening hand and a good suit. Now here is what you bid. If you have 6, you open at the 2 level. So 2 diamonds, 2 hearts, 2 spades. Notice that you cannot do clubs. Why can't you bid 2 clubs?
That's strong.
Right.
22 points.
Exactly. 2 clubs has a special meaning. That's 22 or more points. So it can't mean both a preemptive bid and the strong bid. And we've chosen to have it be the strong bid. In the olden days, all of the 2-level bids were strong. So if you bid 2 hearts, that was 22 or more points with hearts. 2 spades, 22 or more points with spades. But we realized that you don't get those that much. You don't have 22 or more points very often. And so when you do have that many, we might as well just start off with one bid that announces that. And now we've got diamonds, hearts, and spades that we can use as preemptive bids. And that comes up a lot more often than the 22-point bid. Susan? You had a question?
So the 2 clubs Stamen convention is
No.
after a 1 note.
No, you're getting too confused.
Okay.
Very common. 2 clubs, just an opening 2 club bid means 22 or more points. If partner opens 1 no trump and you bid 2 clubs, that's what you're thinking about. That's the Stamen bid, and that just promises 8 points and ask partner if they have a major suit.
I don't remember learning the 2 clubs that we're talking about today. When did we learn that?
We learned that the first week when we talked about, or the second week, we talked about opening bids, but you haven't learned it in the way that we've taught you anything about it because we don't cover it in beginning bridge. But we have said that because remember we said you're always between 13 and 21 if you open one of something. And if you're above 21, so you're 22 plus, you just bid 2 clubs. And then there's special responses and everything that go after that. And we just don't teach them. It doesn't come up that much.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. So anyway, you can do 2 diamonds, 2 hearts, or 2 spades, but you cannot bid 2 clubs as a preempt. It still is that strong bid. If you have 7 in a suit, you'll open at the 3 level. 3 diamonds, 3 hearts, 3 spades, 3 clubs. Clubs works if you've got 7 in there. More rare is you have 8 in a suit. And if you have 8 in a suit and you still don't have an opening hand, then you can just bid at the 4 level. Now, my guess is that this seems pretty crazy to you, right? I mean, you were just jumping in there with a bid of 3 diamonds, and you may have 7 or 8 high card points, and that's all. A good diamond suit, and you're bidding 3 diamonds. Well, we now have described our hand to our partner. They know exactly what we have, and we have taken up bidding room for the opponents. They have to now start at 3 diamonds. If that makes it too hard for them to start, they can't bid, and your partner doesn't have anything else, you may have to play 3 diamonds. But do we expect you to make 3 diamonds? Probably not, right? Just the fact that you've got a good 7 card diamond suit and nothing else, you can't make 3 diamonds. If your partner doesn't have anything, let's say you take all 7 of the diamonds. If you don't have anything outside, and we already said we don't want you to have things outside. If you don't have anything outside, you will take the 7 tricks. And most of those suits are not solid enough for you to take all 7. Usually you will think you'll take 6 at least, maybe 5. But the reason this is okay to do it is because if you bid 3 diamonds and you only go down 1 or maybe 2, you will have lost 50 or 100 points. But if the opponents had bid 3 of something, they're going to get at least 110. And so if you go down 1 or 2 and they're able to make 3 of something, it's better for you to go down. It's not a problem. It is a good thing for you to go down. We have a phrase that says down 1 is good bridge. And a lot of times it is. A lot of times it is, because sometimes you purposely are bidding something so you only lose 50 or 100 to keep the opponents from making 110, 120, 200, whatever the deal is. So that's why we make some of these bids.
Miss Allen,
Yeah.
are the rules the same if you're vulnerable? Seems like maybe the risk there is not so great.
Yeah, good question. In general, go ahead and bid, follow these rules for bidding, whether you're vulnerable or not. But if you are vulnerable and they are not vulnerable, you need to be careful, because they can kind of push you and you can't afford to go very high. Where you can break these rules the most easily is when they're vulnerable and you're not. Then, you can bid even not following these rules, but I don't say to do that right now. Wait till you got a little bit more experience. But part of the deal is if they're vulnerable and we're not vulnerable, and we start out at 3 diamonds, even if we go down 2 or 3, they're going to have a hard time bidding because they're vulnerable. And if they go down, they're going to lose 100 points each time they go down. So they have to be very careful, because you can go down 2, they can only go down 1, and the scores would be equal. So your question is a good one. The vulnerability, for now, I would say don't pay a lot of attention to it. Just if you follow these rules, that you have a good hand in less than opening, a good suit in less than opening hand. But when you're actually out there playing and they're vulnerable and you're not, you can be a lot more rash when you may not have as good of a suit as you ordinarily would think that you would. Okay. Let's talk about responses then. This other considerations is kind of advanced stuff, so don't worry about that very much. But the responses we do need to think about. The responses obviously need to change pretty much. If partner has bid the 2 or the 3 level, our regular responses that would apply as we are responding to an opening bid need to be different. When ordinarily they make an opening bid, they've got 13 points. Now, when they make an opening, and they're at the one level, now when they make an opening bid, they do not have 13 points and they're way above the one level. So we need to think of what's our response supposed to be then as the partner of the person who's made this bid. Well, the first thing is generally we're going to pass because either we don't have a fit for them or we have very few points ourselves and we know we're not going to be able to get to game. So we usually pass. You need to think of it as your partner was doing something by making that bid. They were describing their hand, number one, but number two, they were making it difficult for the opponents to do something. So that part was, they were successful in that when they made the bid. So it's not necessary for you to go higher. Generally, we would think you wouldn't go higher. You could, but I mean, usually you're just going to pass. If you have no cards in their suit, you're still usually going to pass, unless you have a really long suit of your own that you want to try to bid. But usually the thing is to pass. But you might actually raise. And when you raise, you would raise if you think you are going to be able to make game. Let's talk about that first. So if partner bids 3 hearts, how much do you think, what do you think your hand would need to look like for you to bid 4 hearts? How many points, first of all, do you think you need? Well, if we're thinking about around 25 or 26 points or a game, and we know that partner has less than game, I just use in my head kind of the benchmark of 10. I just think, okay, my partner has 10 points. They might have 1 or 2 more, 1 or 2 less. I just say 10. If they've got 10 points, then I need to have 15 or 16 for us to have a chance of making game. So if I have a regular opening hand, I pass. I don't think, oh, they've opened and I've got an opening hand. That's a game. That's how I usually think. If partner opens and I have 13 points, I think, oh boy, we're going to be in a game somewhere. But when they've preempted and I've got just an opening hand, we're not in a game. They've got less than opening hand. So you need to have at least 15 or 16 points in your hand. 17's better to make a game. If they've got less, they've got 10 maybe. So if you do have that, and then you raise to game, and especially if they bid to 3 level, then it's not even important for you to have cards in their suit because they have 7 cards themselves when they bid at the 3 level. If they bid at the 2 level, they only have 6. So you only need 2, but it's probably better not to raise immediately if you don't have any, if you're void. But if you're void and they've opened 3, that's okay. That's, you still at least have the majority of the trump. And if, of course, if you've got support for their suit and you've got 16 or 17 points, really great. Now, here's one thing. That's if you think you might have a game. But here's another time that you might raise. You have support for your partner, but you have a very weak hand, maybe 5 or 6 points, very weak hand. In that case, we might want to raise to really cut the opponents out. Because if my partner has opened with less than opening hand, and I've got 4 or 5 points, what do the opponents have? Got a game. Yeah. We've got like maybe 13 or 14 points. They've got 26, 27 points. They have a game. So when that's a situation, you want to keep them from being able to find it. So you would just go ahead and jump up. Now, there is a law or a rule that helps us know when to do that. And that's called the law of total tricks. The law of total tricks which you can read all about it if you want to. It's a long statistical explanation about card distribution. It basically boils down to that if one person has an 8-card fit in a suit, the other pair will have an 8-card fit in another suit. And so the corollary that comes out of this law is that you are safe to bid to the level you have trump between you. We're going to talk more about this tomorrow when we talk about the overcalls. But so it's saying that, for instance, if your partner bid 3 spades, that means they have 7 spades. And if you've got 4 or 5 points and 3 spades yourself, 7 plus 3 is 10. 10 tricks is bidding at the 4 level, right? 6 plus 4 is 10. So the law of total tricks says that you can raise that to 4 and still be okay. Now, okay doesn't mean making it. Okay means that you will be down few enough that it should be better for you to do that than to let them make whatever they're going to make. And we'll talk more about this law of total tricks tomorrow, but that's what it is. But typically, when your partner has opened a preemptive bid, you pass. That's usually what happens. So let's look at a few examples here real quick. This first one, we've got 6-card heart suit. Do we have 2 of the top 3? We've got 4 of the top 5.
Yes.
And 2 of the top 3. So that suit is definitely good. And what is the value of our hand altogether? Well, it's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 2 extra for the length. So that's 11 points. This hand is worth 11 points. That is not an opening hand, right? So we're below opening hand, but we have a good 6-card heart suit. So we would open this 2 hearts. Okay, 2 hearts. Look at the next one. Oh, it's not going to cooperate with me by going straight across. Okay, number 2, if you can see number 2 here. We have a good 6-card spade suit, right? We've got 2 of the top 3, the ace queen, and we have 3 of the top 5. And overall in this hand, it is worth 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 high card points and 2 for length. So this hand values to 10. So we would open this one 2 spades. That's also less than an opening hand. Good 6-card suit. We open it 2 spades. Let's look at number 3. Number 3, we have a good 6-card suit again in hearts. And the suit does have 2 of the top 3. It's also got 3 of the top 5 with the ace, king, 10, because the 10 is, but we're sufficient to have the 2 of the top 3, which we do, the ace, king. Then the question is, are we under an opening hand? Well, here we have 8, 9, 10, 11 high card points plus 2 for length in the spade suit. That's 13 points. This hand is too strong to open 2 spades or 2 hearts. So we'd open it 1 heart. Even though this is a 2 heart looking suit, it's too, the hand overall is too strong. Okay, let's look at number 4. Here we have a 6-card heart suit with the king, jack, 10. So the suit is a good suit. And we've got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 high card points plus 2 for length. What are we going to open this hand?
Well, the answer's down there below.
The answer's down there below and it says pass, but why would you pass if you have a good 6-card suit and below opening hand?
Most of the points are outside of the
Exactly.
suit.
Exactly. Remember, we talked about we want to have most of the points inside the suit. Otherwise, the hand is worth equally for defensive purposes. So when we've got more points outside than in, we just pass. We'll come back and bid the spade suit if we get a chance to. Or partner may bid spades. We'd be just as happy to play spades if partner bids them. So we just pass that hand. Let's look at number 5 then. Here we have a 7-card spade suit. Is it a good suit? Here we have 2 of the top 3 with the ace queen. Also have 3 of the top 5, ace queen 10. We've got 7 cards for the suit. The value of this hand is the 6 high card points plus 3 for length in the spade suit. So that's 9. This hand values to 9. That's not much, but we'd still bid 3 spades with this hand. 3 spades, and we have really cut the opponents out of the bidding. We're really happier to bid 3 spades with this kind of suit than we are to bid, like up here, the 2 spades, the 2 hearts that we bid with this really good hand. You know, that's okay, but it doesn't accomplish a lot about cutting the opponents out, really. This does, and we don't have very many points. So, number 6, here we've got 4 of the top 5, and we have a 7-card suit. So the suit is good enough, right? 7, 8 high card points, 9, 10, 11, 12. So how would we open this?
An 8-card suit, not a 7
8 club. Yeah, you're right. 8 club. 8. So what?
4 hearts.
That's a 4 level.
Hearts. 4 hearts. 4 hearts. This doesn't come up a lot, but 4 hearts really cuts the opponents out, right? Okay, then let's look at number 7. Number 7, we've got 5, 6, 7 high card points. We've got 4 for length in clubs. So that's 11. What would we open this hand?
You just don't have the high card points to preemptively bid.
There's several things wrong with this one. Number 1, suit's not good enough. You have 2 of the top 5, not 3. So the suit's not good enough. Second problem with it is you've got 5 cards, 5 points outside the suit and only 2 inside. So this is not a good candidate for a preemptive bid. So we would just pass with that. Okay, then the last one here, number 8. Number 8, we've got, is that a 6-card suit? 1, 2, 3, 4, 7-card suit. And we've got 4 of the top 5. So it's definitely a good suit. And this hand values to 10 high card points, 11, 12, 13. So what should we open this hand?
That's an opening hand.
Yes.
1 heart.
1 heart. Okay. All right. So that's preemptive bids. A lot of times when we talk about things that we're doing in our beginning bridge class, if you play outside with people on the outside, sometimes they don't know standard American bridge. They're playing something different. But most of the people that you will run into that are just playing party bridge, social bridge, they've played for a bazillion years, know the preemptive bids, and they will do preemptive bidding. So, okay, guys, that's it for today. I'll see you tomorrow in class where we will cover overcalls.
Nice job, Sally, as always.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.